Hey everyone, welcome into the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. I'm your host, Tony Edward. On your way in, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify or Apple, please be sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating. Okay, folks, let's kick it off with the price of Bitcoin because we're seeing some upward price movement here for Bitcoin after the recent pullback. At the time of recording, Bitcoin is just below $78,000, and we're seeing some green candles on the daily chart. The two important things I want to highlight here is that Bitcoin held the $75,000 support level, which I talked about in previous podcasts and in my recent newsletter, which was published on Monday. So that's a good sign. It held that support. And the MACD shows the bears are losing momentum. Those dark red candles are turning light red, so the momentum's slowing for them. So this could flip back bullish. Now, we are not out of the woods yet, and markets can fake us out. So we have to let this play out further to give us confirmation. So please understand what I'm saying. I'm not saying we're going to pump immediately and go to 85K. That is absolutely not what I'm saying. But there's a positive sign here that we are in the process of bouncing, and I'm hoping for some sort of impulsive bounce where Bitcoin starts to rally. And we're going to talk about some positive news that may come tomorrow that could be a catalyst. In addition, we're seeing the stock market, the S&P 500 also bounce. So the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq were both overheated. They were in the overbought zone, and now they've cooled down, and the RSI came back down below the overbought zone. So this is starting to move back up again. However, just like Bitcoin, we got to be patient and let the market show us what it wants to do, and we get that confirmation. Because right now, the MACD on the daily chart is bearish, but it can quickly flip to bullish. But right now, it's still bearish. So we got to be patient. And remember, crypto pretty much follows the equities market. So if the stock market is moving upwards, that bodes well for crypto. Obviously, the stock market's pulling back or crashing. That is not good for crypto. So this is where we're looking at this as a measuring stick to get an idea of where we may be going. And remember, for Bitcoin, there is a CME gap around $84,000. So that's a positive sign here. And if Bitcoin can get to 84, 85, if there's enough bullish news, it could certainly overshoot and go to 90. And some people are calling for higher prices. But one thing at a time here, we got to get through these different levels, and let's make it to the CME gap first before we start calling home that we're going over 90 and much more. Now, one of the recent things I highlighted in my newsletter as well as in a recent podcast is that Elon Musk's SpaceX is looking to go public. They're looking to do an IPO. And today we got the filing information that they've selected the ticker SPCX, and they are still holding the Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So the amount of Bitcoin is 18,712, worth about $1.4 billion. So this is coming from an SEC filing. Now, a couple of takeaways. Will Elon and his investors in SpaceX and much more want to go public in a market that's crashing in the red? Of course not. Only an idiot would do that, right? So I often talk about there's less people going public in a bear market. They all wait for bullish conditions when there's a lot of positive sentiment and a lot of liquidity, right? Because if people are running scared, nobody's going to want to invest. Yes, you may have some investors who are going to buy it, but they obviously want retail to participate. So that means they're anticipating the stock market to be performing well in the coming months, which again bodes well for crypto. Now, the other aspect is you have a company that is not a Bitcoin treasury company, meaning it's not like strategy. That's its core mission. It's a company that's building rockets and much more to go to space, right? But they're still holding their Bitcoin and they're going public with that Bitcoin on their balance sheet. That's significant, folks. So don't miss the significance of that. And I think we're going to see more and more of this over time. Bitcoin will continue to be used as a treasury asset, in addition to other crypto assets like altcoins. So this is very significant on multiple fronts. And here, Connor Brown, who is the managing director at the Bitcoin Policy Institute, he tweeted out today, tomorrow will be another landmark day for Bitcoin policy in DC. Very exciting developments coming out of Capitol Hill. Stay tuned. So we've recently been hearing from Patrick Witt, the White House crypto advisor, that we're going to hear about a major update regarding the US's strategic Bitcoin reserve. So could we hear some positive news tomorrow that could be a catalyst to send the price of Bitcoin bouncing, getting that impulsive bounce? It's possible, not guaranteed, but it's possible. So let's see what the US comes up with here because that would be significant. So I'm really excited to hear that news. And we've been hearing a lot of narratives building in the US government from folks in the military and much more around Bitcoin and the need to have a strategy for national security and much more. But look at this. Congressman Lance Gooden says the Pentagon is currently researching how Bitcoin can be used toward strengthening their cyber defenses. Bitcoin is the center of a paradigm shift in national security that the US military is moving to capitalize on. So again, I'm very curious what this announcement is going to be, and I'm sure it's tied to the strategic Bitcoin reserve. The narrative is building here, right? We saw about a month and a half ago an admiral, I believe in the US Navy, giving positive statements about Bitcoin and national security. So something is building up here, and I can't wait for the announcement. Now, moving ahead, Morgan Stanley this morning submitted an amended filing for their Solana ETF. Ticker symbol will be MSOL. So very, very interesting. But the race is on. Morgan Stanley recently launched their Bitcoin ETF. Now they're going to launch altcoin ETFs. I always tell you guys it starts with Bitcoin and then they make their way down the list. So more on-ramps being built for these asset classes to allow more capital to come in. And I am a Solana token holder. I'm diversified. I have Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, XRP, and more. Now, speaking of ETFs, we have some big news coming out from Trump's Truth Social. They have withdrawn their Bitcoin ETF filing. This is great. Many of you know, I believe Donald Trump needs to slow down because we got to get the Clarity Act passed. And we know there's Democrats and even some Republicans who are making a noise about the ethics, right? That Trump's family is making a ton of money off of crypto. You know, one of the things I've been against from day one is Trump's meme coin and the Melania meme coin. Those things should not be owned by an elected official. It's really a bad look. I've said it from day one. Many of you know about that. And some people are like, I'm subscribing because you feel that way. I'm like, look, I don't worship politicians, left or right, Democrat or Republican. I call it like it is. I'm here to hold politicians accountable. Remember, the politicians are supposed to work for us, right? Don't forget that. You don't worship at their feet. So we got to call it like it is. And the Clarity Act, the big fight that's going to come up soon is the ethics piece. Now, I know there's ethics aspect to the other markets like the stock market and much more that needs to be figured out. But hopefully they can get past this. But you know, Trump needs to slow down, and maybe this is a sign. Maybe this is a sign he's pulling out some of these things because the ethics situation has the potential to be a huge roadblock. And you got people like Elizabeth Warren, who's ready to, you guys know, attack crypto from every angle. Now she's complaining about the US regulator for approving unqualified crypto banks. So essentially the OCC approving chartered banking charter license for crypto companies. She doesn't like that, right? You guys heard what she said recently at the Clarity Act markup in the Senate Banking Committee. She said the Clarity Act is going to blow up the entire economy. So we need to have President Trump and his team and whoever his kids to slow the hell down, get rid of the meme coin. World Liberty Financial is a bit shady. I actually don't have a problem with Eric Trump being involved with American Bitcoin because they're not doing some major token issuance. They're just running a mining company, right? So I'm hoping, guys, I'm hoping this is a sign that they're going to slow down. Once the Clarity Act passes, they want to ramp up back, fine. Just let us get the damn Clarity Act through and we don't have problems here. But I hope you guys understand, right? I'm independent and I call it like it is. I don't worship politicians. And I have to say that because you sometimes see the comments, how dare you say this about my favorite and it's like, really? Come on. Anyway, guys, so this is a good thing and let's see what happens next. Quick word from our sponsor.
This episode is brought to you by BitGo, the trusted infrastructure behind the digital asset economy. If you're serious about crypto, whether you're an investor, institution, or building in this space, you already know security, compliance, and execution are everything. And that's exactly what BitGo delivers. With over a decade of experience and 5,500 plus institutional clients across 100 plus countries, BitGo provides a full suite of services, including qualified custody, trading, staking, financing, and stablecoin infrastructure, all in one platform. Let's break it down. Want to launch crypto services fast? BitGo's crypto as a service lets banks, fintechs, and platforms go live in as little as a couple of months without dealing with complex licensing or infrastructure. If you're looking to launch a stablecoin, BitGo offers a complete stablecoin as a service platform from reserves and smart contracts to compliance, built to align with the new US regulatory framework that is the Genius Act. Want to earn rewards on your crypto? BitGo runs one of the largest institutional staking platforms with tens of billions staked across 50 plus networks, all while your assets stay securely in qualified custody. Need deep liquidity and execution? Their trading platform aggregates liquidity across 30 plus venues, giving you better pricing and the ability to trade directly from custody. No pre-funding required for approved clients. And if you need capital, BitGo offers crypto-backed financing, so you can unlock liquidity without selling your assets. So here's the bottom line. BitGo is one of the first federally chartered digital asset infrastructure companies offering regulated, insured custody and a platform built for institutions, but accessible to forward-thinking players across the space. So whether you're scaling a fintech, managing a fund, or building the future of finance, BitGo gives you all the tools that you need to do this securely, compliantly, and at scale. So learn more at bitgo.com and see why the biggest players in crypto trust BitGo.
Okay, moving ahead. Big update here. President Trump orders the government, Fed, to review crypto firms' access to payment rails. Folks, this is massive, significant. If you want to get crypto adopted in the payment rails and much more, you need the Fed to buy in. You need the FDIC to buy in, right? The people who control the whole currency and the markets and the connections to the banks. So US President Donald Trump ordered the federal government to update its regulatory frameworks to integrate digital assets and innovative technology into the traditional financial services and payment system in an executive order signed on Tuesday. So this was yesterday. According to the document, the US could foster financial technology services into its existing and financial services rails. Here's a quote. "It is therefore the policy of the United States to streamline regulatory processes, reduce unnecessary barriers to entry, and encourage collaboration between fintech firms, federally regulated financial institutions, and federal financial regulators," the order said. So the order directed the heads of financial regulators to review their existing rules over the next 3 months and identify any rules or documents that unduly impede fintech firms from entering into partnerships with federally regulated institutions. This is a major, major update, guys, and would be a major unlock for crypto. And it's along the lines of what we've been talking about for years, that blockchain rails are going to power the future of capital markets, economies, and governments, right? So they're opening it up here amongst the federal banking system and in addition to the commercial banks and much more. So this is huge. And then today, after President Trump signed that executive order yesterday, Federal Reserve proposes limited master accounts long pursued by crypto firms. So we know many crypto firms want these master accounts. And I remember Caitlin Long at Custodia Bank fighting for one of these. But the Federal Reserve took another step toward special limited payment accounts that would give a lighter version of the master account services the central bank offers to its fully fledged banks, opening a comment period on the latest description of the new accounts. So they would open it up to tier 3 level fintechs, which of course includes crypto. So the dominoes are falling here, folks, and it won't happen overnight. They're going to continue to work on this and fine tune it. So in March, Kraken became the first crypto bank to get a limited master account, though the access was granted by the Federal Reserve Bank of Kansas City and not under a federal rule from the Fed board in Washington. So the Fed said it's now asked the regional banks to pause their consideration of certain application while it finishes the rule. So rather than this being piecemeal and ad hoc, right, the Fed is like, let's get this done at the federal level so we don't have these Federal Reserve banks in these different states and cities, doing, again, the piecemeal work. So this is really, really great, guys. We're moving in the right direction here. Now, speaking of banks, former BNY executive launches NUVA, bets tokenization will remake Wall Street. that's an understatement, right? Blockchain rails will power all of it, guys. So NUVA is positioning itself as a chain agnostic marketplace for tokenized financial assets. So NUVA launched with nearly $19 billion in tokenized home equity lines of credit and treasuries from Figure Technologies, according to CEO Anthony Morrow. Morrow, a former BNY Mellon executive, said the company believes every single financial asset in the entire world is going to be tokenized over the next decade. So again, guys, the token economy, right? They're going to put all assets on chain. So the Ethereum-based platform is designed to connect issuers and investors seeking yield-bearing tokenized assets. NUVA's partners include Animoca Brands, which Morrow said will help distribute products globally through its crypto network. Huge news here, guys, and the infrastructure being set up for the token economy. All right, moving ahead, latest congressional swing at crypto tax reform would direct IRS to review de minimis exemptions. So I've spoken about this on the pod and the news recaps, as well as in my interviews with a lot of folks in the legal sector who are working in legislation and much more, that after the Clarity Act passes, we need the Parity Act, which focuses on crypto tax, to pass. Because if you don't give the guidance on what people can do with the crypto and what their tax implications are, it's not gonna help adoption. So this needs to be the other part that will dovetail with the Clarity Act. So a bipartisan group of lawmakers introduced a revised crypto tax bill Wednesday that aims to update the tax code to better address crypto use cases and would, if signed into law, direct the IRS to analyze the effect de minimis exemptions might have. So it includes a bipartisan group of folks. You got Democrats, you got Republicans here. They reintroduced the Digital Asset Protection, Accountability, Regulation, Innovation, Taxation, and Yields Act, otherwise known as the Parity Act. So this is really great, and it's awesome that movement is happening here. So once we get clarity done, they can push this right behind it, and we can get it done hopefully this year. That would be really, really great. Now, moving ahead, we got some big updates around Ripple and the XRP ledger. So Project 11, which is securing digital assets for the post-quantum era, partners with Ripple to advance post-quantum security on the XRP ledger, conducting a full audit of the XRPL's validator, custody, and wallet layers for quantum vulnerabilities. This is really great. Quantum is certainly going to be a threat. I don't think it's a major threat right now, but eventually, as you have further iteration of the technology, it's going to become more sophisticated and it can be used against blockchains. But these blockchains are getting ahead of the curve here by making sure their chains and their validators and much more are all quantum resistant. And I'm not of the mindset that quantum all of a sudden is going to take down everything, because if it can take down blockchain technology, which uses encryption and the highest level of cryptography, what do you think is going to happen to your air traffic control system, your stoplights and traffic control system, and much more, your banking system, right? So this is where I believe as quantum technology gets rolled out, these blockchains will take the respective technology and fortify their validators and much more. I will be interviewing someone from the Ripple development team who's working on the XRP ledger very soon, guys. So I'll share more details in the coming week, and you guys can let me know what questions you would like me to ask. Here's some more Ripple news. Ripple Prime integrates with EDX Markets, which is a digital asset technology firm that combines an institution-only trading venue with a central clearinghouse, giving institutional clients access to EDX's spot and perpetual futures liquidity with Ripple's Prime brokerage framework, with RLUSD planned as a future settlement and collateral asset. Ripple continues to make some incredible deals and adoption and partnerships here. Now, moving ahead, Tether buys SoftBank's stake in Bitcoin company 21 Capital. So Tether, with the amount of money that they are making globally as the number one stablecoin, they are investing in a lot of different things, and it's very smart. This company is doing some amazing things. So Tether has acquired SoftBank Group's stake in 21 Capital, the Bitcoin Treasury company that is expanding into lending, mining, and capital market services in a move that gives the stablecoin issuer greater control of one of the largest publicly traded Bitcoin holders. In an announcement on Wednesday, Tether said it purchased SoftBank's roughly 26% stake for an undisclosed amount. SoftBank was one of the earliest backers of 21 Capital, which launched in 2025 as a Bitcoin treasury company backed by Cantor Fitzgerald and led by Jack Mallers. Okay, final news item here. Japan's ruling party proposes developing financial infrastructure using AI and blockchain. So, the global movement to integrate blockchain tech and provide guidance and build the on ramps for more capital to come in is moving at a rapid pace. So, the ruling Liberal Democratic Party of Japan has approved a proposal to promote the development of automated financial infrastructure using AI and blockchain. In a Tuesday publication, the LDP's Policy Research Council announced the Next Generation AI and On-Chain Finance Initiative. Policymakers propose using blockchain technology to settle payments in retail and wholesale sectors, for AI to autonomously execute economic activities, and clarifying the legality of yen-pegged stablecoin. Guys, do you see what is happening here? I mean, the groundwork, the piping, the infrastructure being set up for the token economy. And obviously, it's going to include AI. Here's a quote. In Japan, the expanded adoption of blockchain technology will play a crucial role in establishing the necessary infrastructure to ensure that the nation remains chosen by AI, said the council, according to a translated statement. Incredible, folks. I am bullish long term. I have the macro view. So despite the short-term price swings and ebbs and flows, that's not bothering me. Yes, I want to make money. Yes, I want a big return. But I'm just seeing how early we are and how these things are still being laid out and developed. And look, we don't even have market structure passed here in the United States. It's in the process, but that's how early we are. And I've been saying once the legislations pass here in the United States and these other countries, it will kick off the super cycle because you have the on-ramps being built via ETFs, institutional development products coming from banks and the biggest firms in the world, stock exchanges, and more. So that's my thesis and I'm sticking to it. So let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Subscribe if you haven't as yet. Please support the podcast by subscribing to my free email newsletter. It's 100% free on Substack. Also, check out my book on Amazon. It's available in paperback and digital. Be sure to grab a copy. And if you want to expand your knowledge around crypto and blockchain tech, check out my course at mycryptocourse.com. This is a comprehensive course that teaches you everything you need to know about crypto. And right now we have a huge discount going on. Use the code BEAR, BEAR, to get 50% off the price at checkout, guys. So go learn more about it. It's at mycryptocourse.com. All the links will be in the description. Folks, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you all later.